Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice. Alright, we're going to continue here. Try to get more than just a couple of days done. A lot of events happening first year. Because Iraq won. Okay. Buy the fuel. Not that much, and I won't get you in. Okay. Just want to pause it while I read so I'm not worried about it. Form Kommando Deutsches Arabischen Truppen Kodat. In January 43, the Kommando Deutsches Arabische Truppen, or Kodat, was formed in Tunisia. By the middle of February 43, the Kodat had 2 battalions of Arab volunteers from Tunisia, an Algerian battalion, a Moroccan battalion, counted a total of 3,000 men with German cadre. Okay, form them, don't form them, we'll form them. Like the money costs, but okay. Okay, so the battalions. Bit over strength. Alright. Polish light armor there. Left my tank guns. Airborne mix support. Okay, that should have some anti. We're gonna see about reinforcing here, and like maybe the French have given up trying to supply this. Okay, radar for cruisers has advanced. That's nice. And Bow Commando Becker SP rocket part conversions. Another major project Becker undertook was the work he did on the soft-skinned French half-track vehicles. The Salma MCG and the smaller Munich P107. Despite these both of these vehicles, he armored to make them more survivable in the battle environment. Salma MCG he used as a platform for a number of vehicles, including the Nebelwaffe, the Wahlfrontwaffe, sorry, I don't know what that, or the Rheinwaffe, don't know what those are right offhand. His own creation of a battery of up to 21, the last one, 21 mortars. That is that thingy there that you're seeing there. Mortars, and the smaller Unix P107 light half-track was also armored and used similarly as a self-propelled weapon, a substitute for the 251 half-track. Okay, good. Yeah, that was basically to throw a bunch of mortar rounds all at once, impacting. What I presume they found out, and what we now know much more so, is when artillery starts to come in, one, generally speaking, and because I was taught this a long time ago, basically, again, like I talked about skill set, some of it, some lower level stuff I was taught by the Army, just in classroom kind of settings, was, you know, you call in I want one round at coordinates X 35, Y 65, or whatever on the map. And you call in the artillery. And they fire one round in. And then you, at that location. And then you see where that lands. And you then start giving corrections from there. Because, and this is, and I don't know what they're taught nowadays, because we now have GPS. But in before is one, you may identify the location that you want to go incorrectly on the map. You may think it's that location, but really you're one field off, because they both have buildings in similar locations, and they both, you know, look sort of the same. And so you're mistaken about the location on the map, or just sort of translating where the enemy are, because you're looking through your eyes or through binoculars or whatever, and you're trying to identify where the position is relative to the map, and so it's imprecise. So you call and you see where the round lands. Now, of course, also the artillery may be mistaking its position on the map, or the math that they do to figure out, okay, we're here, we want to shoot there, we're at X elevation, it's at Y elevation difference, and you know, so what's our trajectory, and plot that out. They may do the math wrong, and so they fire and see where it lands. And then you go, okay, yeah, I want to go back 300 yards, right 400 yards, or whatever, and you sort of give a correction to it. Because you're no longer telling them where it is on the map, because they already sort of have that point. You know where it lands, so then you want to adjust the fire to a new, to a more precise location. And so they adjust. And then fire another round. Yeah, that's sort of kind of where I want it, but maybe bring it back towards me 200 yards. Okay, so they do the adjust. Okay, boom. Okay, yeah. Fire for effect there, 10 rounds each gun. And so what they'll do is then they'll adjust, let's say it's a 4-gun battery. They'll adjust all the guns to have the same settings. And then they'll fire like 5 rounds fairly quickly, all on target. Well, as they're doing this, people on the other side realize, hey, there's an artillery round landing. That's interesting. Oh, there's another artillery round landing. That's interesting. I wonder what that could mean. Is that, you know, what's going on? Of course, they're going, oh shit, somebody's shooting artillery at us. Let's everybody get in a hole in the ground. Or at least lay down flat on the ground to try not to be hit by anything. So they get this warning, they get down as the rounds come in, so everyone takes cover. And as you can sort of tell by my earlier explanation, it's sort of a slow process. You got it, you know, over, and in these days in World War II, a lot of it was done over telephone wires, so that they would actually string out on the battlefield. But it was also done over the radio. The Americans were great for the radio, but even the radio sometimes didn't work very well. Various ground effects with the radio wavelengths weren't necessarily getting in well, and atmospheric effects, and the radios just weren't all that reliable or powerful back then. More the sending receivers or sending sets that the forward people would have, the, you know, sort of the backpack radios that you think of, as opposed to the more powerful radios in. And so if they're not sending well or clearly, the guy may also miss a number or write a number down, you know, hear the number wrong, you know, just get that bit of information wrong. Generally, they were supposed to repeat it back to you. I don't know if they always did, but that's the theory is that they, you know, they repeat back the numbers, and you make sure that they got it right and heard it right. So all this stuff, you get everyone gets to cover. So your artillery is a lot less effective. Well, today, now with GPS coordinates, you can literally get your own exact coordinates, and part of the reason they did all this rigmarole was so you don't hit your own troops. Whether the guy that's calling, troops where the guys are calling, or somewhere else out on the battlefield, if you get it wrong, it could hit somebody else's company that you can't even see. And that. But now you can go, you get your exact GPS coordinates, and then you can get a good, nice range finding device that would tell you both distance from this location and direction from this location. Up 500, 500 yards away, and that's, northeast on this, vector from your location. So you can give much more precise, because back when I was trained, they didn't have any GPS out at any sort of unit levels. I don't even think they were deploying the GPS yet systems at all. And so, so we didn't even have any of that to even, to worry about or to even think about. So, now they can just get much more precise first time information, and depending on how serious and how close it is, they can just decide to go, oh, okay, we're going to, this guy's out of fuel, so what we're going to do is we're going to rebase him down to stop using the limited amount of supplies we have here in the French territory. And so you can get the precise coordinates, and then and then the firing vehicle not only, and they can get all this stuff digitally. They don't even have to hear the guy. It can just be fed through the battlefield computer system, and then the firing unit gets its stuff, and it's precisely been identified where it is. And it has a ballistics computer that can literally aim the gun for you, or it can tell you, where to aim the gun precisely, and so they can fire practically the most out of any one gun barrel. It does depend on range and some of the other things. It's 5 rounds at once, or in a succession, but they fire them in such a way that all 5 rounds up to will land all at the nearly same instant on the target. Called Mercy, multiple rounds simultaneous impact. So Mercy, boom, or no mercy, but. And so it all lands, and so if you have 4 guns, they all fire 5 rounds. You have 20 rounds coming right all at once on the enemy without any warnings. Everyone's caught out in the open. Everyone maybe is bunched up. If they're bunched up, they're not spread out. And so it's just all right in, and it's devastating. Well, back in World War II, they didn't obviously have that technology, but they realized that people go to ground. Plus, the idea that, artillery, they try to make it precise, and sometimes you can for precision. But a lot of times it's just sort of like, hey, the enemy are on the far side of that hill, way over there. We know they're there. There's a few of them up on top. We know there's a bunch over there. So let's just shoot at that side of the hill, sort of, kind of. The far side of it, over there in the valley. And this was sort of the German rocket Nuremberg type philosophy, the Soviet Katyusha type philosophy. The Americans did have the Calliopes on top of the Germans and other sort of rockets too. Is that we just fire all these rockets at once. They are relatively inaccurate and they spread out. So you're just trying to hit a particular MG post or any tank gun position. You may miss that position entirely. You're just spreading destruction over a wide area is what you're trying to do. And you want to do it all at once, or nearly all at once, so you catch them out in the open and you just impact on them. Well, that's what these sort of mortar type system is. Obviously, mortars don't have nearly the range of some of the heavier, longer range rockets, but you can sort of get in close, and with the mortars, you're more likely to be up near the front, so you're not going to maybe be shooting at your own troops as much. And you just want to fire them off all at once, boom. Like, if you think of the hedgerow fighting, 2 hedgerows or 3 hedgerows over, because you only move your mortars up so much, and you're just plastering the area all at once, go boom, 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 all at once. And that's what these kind of things would do. So they're designed to be imprecise, but they're also designed, again, I don't know the details of this, but looking at some of the mechanisms here, it looks like you just sort of load them up, get them in the right position, and they just all like fire at once. Boom, just faster than you can load them. So that's that kind of artillery type things. I know I went on long, but I hope you enjoyed the story. Okay, increased production of track prime movers after the Wehrmacht's first fall and winter 41-42 on the Russian front. They found that extremely primitive roadways and seasonal mud requires fully tracked vehicles and support. Okay, so this was before we were talking about the Muleturtle events. This is now getting over to the RSOs, which I talked about before. Seasonal mud requires fully tracked supply vehicles to maintain mobility. Steyr responded by producing a small, fully tracked vehicle based upon the 1.5-ton truck, Steyr 1500A light truck. Already in use in the Army, the vehicle was introduced in 1942 as the Raupenschlepper Ost RSO. Initially designed as a prime mover and artillery supply vehicle, it eventually served in a wide variety of roles. Immediately after the vehicle reached the Eastern Front, the combat unit started using it for its general transport utilities. It gave outstanding service due to its reliability, its ease of maintenance, and its capability to take over a variety of roles in every kind of terrain that other vehicles lacked. 4 road wheels per side, all in a single line, as part of a slack track system with no return rollers. Excuse me. No return rollers comprised a much simpler suspension system, much more able to handle the Rasputina, mud seasons and Russian winter condition, without mud or snow freezing between the wheels of a complex, overlapping, interleaving Tractal Funkwerk suspension systems that the German half-tracks like the SDKF Z7 possess soon order for the RSO surpassed Steyr's production ability, and more manufacturers joined the vehicle production in order to meet the ever increased demands. Okay, yeah, we want to do that. We got the metal, we got the supplies. The supplies are running a little low because various things been happening. Though the one thing I definitely know about the vehicle, like they say, it's very mobile across all kinds of terrains, but it was slow compared to a truck. So that does sort of make a difference. Now, got a bunch of new units go up here. Take a quick look at them. Okay, so now Brigade West. We also got a bunch of new generals in after the first of the month. That's a fairly good unit, so give it to him. 21st Panzer Division 2. Okay, leader engineer, all right. Okay, well, some self-propelled artillery along with some French half-track support that we can presumably attach somewhere else. Probably be best at some point. Not that you can't use those as independent units, because you absolutely can, but they generally work best, whatever, with these and the earlier ones would be extremely useful if we were bogged down in down here, getting ready for a Turkish invasion. Luft Commando. Ost, good. Okay. There we go. That's in good enough range. That's nice. So got him there. Fyodor Bunker. Oh, maybe him's with Bunker. Ben. Ah, he looks like a guy for the future. Let's give it. Oh, pretty good. Distance. Looking for Hitler. Oh, there he is. There we go. Put him under Hitler. There has more Führer. And we have these guys. Ooh, that looks cool. 102. This is improved since last I played this. 103. Rare Panzer. Ooh, okay, this is the 505. And these guys down here. Well, now let's find some guys I haven't been using. No, not been. We can do wit. Oh. Answer. Fire. Okay. Good. I know too many of these. No, too. I don't know, like, I do get things confused. I've read about too many of these guys too much. Man's a different vision. One of the mountain ones, isn't it? Or a Panzer. Okay. Know who you right? That looks. That's sort of the reason. Okay. The Italian. How can I assign him? Actually, you know what we're gonna do? And this is right. I agree with this, that it should be a military, but can we not upgrade it? Let's. Why aren't we able to upgrade? I don't know. Over here. What is the greater training and equipment? And yeah, we were that. What was that? Yeah. Okay, well, now I talked about getting more days done, but I'll look at stuff. Finland, yes. Romania, you give them money for crude oil, yes. Yes. Well, do national. Anton, don't want to over Vichy. Vichy Francis to fight for me. We're gonna do balanced approach. These guys are already, huh? They're gonna be there soon. They've got that mix support. Help again. Armor and such. Guys. Submix support. Oh, here, damn, another one shattered. Okay. There's something up with, I mean, you see it's 9-9. That's got some really nice reinforcement to it. So what we're gonna do here is, send these new units that Becker got for us down here. They should be able to, because they're proper units, not internal security or command type functions. I was throwing into battle. Oh. Well, as I don't know if anyone's commented in the last few episodes, making a few episodes today here all at once. The weekend and things. I'm using a different recording software, and it wouldn't accept wouldn't record the game properly in the windowed mode that the others recording software required. So I've gone back to full screen. Then I've adjusted the size of the screen so it's larger. So have a larger screen image, hopefully in higher quality for you all. Okay. Now, they've stopped. We've won. We're going to win here, I think, and they're down to 2 divisions. I think that's the unit that we spotted a few episodes back, transiting. That they're hunting out there with the cruiser, but Commerce Raider is avoiding them. So I don't know that they're planning on any more invasions. Not if we don't. I'm not saying if we give them enough time, they wouldn't. But I wanted to see how if they could do anything quickly. Okay, still disbanded. Okay. Close air support ground crew training has advanced. Good, they can reload and rearm, and we're gonna let that go. Duke is faster. Good thing. But so this is interesting. So that they sent us over to do a counter invasion for Casablanca. That had I not had units right there, because I removed them moved them out, they would have won. I mean, they would have got that as an unoccupied force. So now that's sort of an interesting. Polish armor in on this. Oh, is that the... Let's give it a try. Or attack. I'm gonna stop because I'm offensive. Good shape. Then badly attacking. Okay. Conduct anti-partisan operations in the Balkans. Fall Weiss, also known as the Fourth Enemy Offensive, was a combined Axis strategic offensive launched against the Yugoslav partisans throughout occupied Yugoslavia during World War II. It was one of the most significant confrontations in World War II in Yugoslavia. The offensive took place in early 43 between the 20th of January to mid to late March. The Axis operation prompted the Partisan Supreme Command to enact its plan to drive towards eastern Herzegovina, Sandžak, and Montenegro. In order to do this, Tito formed the so-called Main Operation Group, which eventually succeeded in forcing its way across the Naritava in mid-March 43 after a series of battles in various hostile formations. Other partisan formations, the 1st Croatian and the 1st Bosnian Corps, managed to evade the Axis blows despite significant losses, reclaim most of the territory that they had before the beginning of the operation. Okay, well, I guess, well, for a colorized picture, it's all right. I'm getting things wrong there, though, but I know it's colorized beyond other things. And you want to tell me we give them, I'm not buying crude oil across. One thing up from Iraq. Okay, Republican. How big is this? Okay, yeah, this is sort of the part 2 of it. What my understanding is the Black Ice people found that not giving the coast to Japan does 2 things. One, there's a lot of industry and resources that Japan needs, even a whatever occupational effect that limits the income of like the Koreans, whatnot. And just simply having that operation for Nanjing, it isn't that effective because here's Nanjing in Japanese-held territory. And the Nanjing government just never really organizes well enough to defend the coastal area. And part of the reason they do this is because, for the most part, there's nothing more to fight in here, because unless you're going after Tibet or you're fighting the communists, you know, there's nothing more to do here. So by getting the Japanese and other allied armies like the Manchukuo ones out of trying to occupy the center here and focus on the coastal defenses, or pushing into Burma or some other place, it really helps the gameplay. So that's where some of the really good stuff comes with Hearts of Iron 4, is the ability to US got territories here. Okay, Battle of Marrakesh, good, we've won. Sabotage of the hydroelectric plants at Niagara Falls. Mein Führer, our agents have informed us that they are about to sabotage the vital hydroelectric plant at Niagara Falls on the Canadian-American border near Buffalo. It is, if successful, this will be that American production. Okay. Is that what that looked like? Cool. Success. Mein Führer, our target, has informed us that their recent sabotage target has successfully hit. Early reports are that the damage was severe. Okay. Come on. Fluffy. So. Okay. Cut off Casablanca, just what I was looking for. Okay, and are they here? No, they're. Let's. I should change. Base down to here. I'm gonna pick up that HQ. Enough trans. Give the other. They can fit. Good. Fly down to here. And oh. Okay, well. Let's look for. Thought I had another. There. They are. There. Okay, that's the other big one. That should be able to put the other down. Probably gonna have to send some heavier units be down here. Really make this effective. Let's start messing with guys. Wish that was in a good way. Air landing infantry, good. I'm getting some via that's all done, I believe. Yeah, via events. But to be able to construct them is nice. Ground attack tactics advanced. Okay, good. Air superiority tactics. Naval bomber prototypes have advanced. Yay. I love those. Okay, and before cruise radar. Of course we need. That does. Whole point. Well, back up to here and we'll do capital ship radar. I don't want to lose these guys. Down here that we're trying to defend Vichy France. Territory. Not so much about defending their territory, it's about being able to support to be able to like fade across here eventually. Still like that. Having a bridgehead there. Useful. Uh-oh. Scattered. Okay. Student gone. Do fly down to here. Base. Do park. Get out so we're double there has double support. Transport sounds calmer, which moment I was really just thinking I'm gonna attach its other larger No, thank you. We have our heavy artillery that we're not using. Okay, so they're counterattacking it. Now, as we're facing that, let's send these guys. Send them here. We'll put like this Africa Corps unit along those. What I'm now seriously wondering is will the U.S. will we need to seriously keep this garrison? Will the U.S. keep attempting to invade? That looks like. Oh, look! There we go. There we go. See that, people? See that? 11G. There, 11 garrison brigades that got transported over. So that was the AI that sent them there. And I presume they're all American. Now, why they sent garrisons and not something else, I don't know. But that's what they sent. They're gonna. They're now ready. Got 2 light infantry. We're gonna fall back. What is this? 3. Issue just may not have any transport. Got a way of giving them more. Okay, requisition Indian rubber. Allied blockade increased the importance of German industry to have access to rare materials such as Indian rubber for the maintaining the current war effort. Authorities ordered the acquisition or requisition of Indian rubber from private sources within the population. Okay, these are all rare materials for our war effort. Not disappoint our population. Two in descent. I mean, gain 2 in descent. Oh, what it says. 10,000 rare materials. Well, since currently we are plus 175 every day, I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that now. Get another chance at some point, but we don't. Allow our women to curl their hair. This is interesting. I've never heard about this before. The decrease in the availability of consumer goods for the civilian population led in early 43 to the administrative order to limit the use of chemicals to produce cosmetics. Women of the Reich were called to abstain from curling their hair and to beautifying themselves. This led to growing dissatisfaction within the population. The ever-wary NSDAP Gauleiters noted carefully that the public perception of the prolonged war might drop even further. After the defeat of the German 6th Army in Stalingrad, the NSDAP gave in, and it was decided to revoke this decision to ration and limit the availability and usage of hair cosmetics. Okay, this is I hadn't seen this event before, and quite honestly had never heard of this element of it. But this goes to what the book that I know I've talked about before, Hitler's Compromises. And you put Hitler in the name of a book, it always get, Hitler's generals, Hitler's whatever. It's more sales than just doing something else. But it was about Hitler, but it was also about the NSDAP, the party. And there was, again, and I've talked about this, if you were the right type of person, which presumably all three of these women are that they're referencing, you could push back against the Nazis. Like when a bunch of Jewish men that were married to Aryan women before it became illegal, they were collected. I think it was around late 44, basically to go to work camp / death camp. The wives, and see now, there was lots of public pressure, and not just public shunning. I mean, being dragged into the police station and just told to sit there and wait until they could be seen or whatever. There was, because they were married. So a great, I would say majority of particularly women, but spouses that were married to Jews divorced them. I would say a majority did. I don't have good figures, and I don't know that good figures exist because the Nazis wouldn't want to promote it, but there was definite cases, and it definitely goes to the situation where, like, one woman was in a major city, could have been Berlin, could have been Munich, it could have been Dusseldorf, I don't know. Major city, pulled in the police station. She's married to a Jewish husband. This is something about that, or she's told to report, or whatever. She's in there. She's sat down, on a bench and sort of, somewhere in the police station. She's sitting there for a couple of hours, and she sort of realizes they could be at my house arresting my husband. I haven't been given permission to leave, so she just gets up and leaves. Just walks out of the police station. She wasn't under arrest in the sense of locked up or confined. She just ordered to show up, or someone escorted her in. I forget the exact details. And she's told, sit there, somebody will come and get you. You need to be, someone needs to check your papers or check. I think basically just an intimidation tactic. Just haul her into the police station, make her wait for 6 or 8 hours or whatever, most of the day, and then have someone finally get around to see her, and then, do you still want to be married to this guy, or whatever the thing, and then let her go, and then would be like pull her in again next week, and then, just keep doing this sort of intimidation tactic is what I think they did. But she was sort of panicked for her husband, and so she got up and left, and there were no actual repercussions. I don't think they kept pulling her in after that. She gets up and goes home and checks to make sure that nobody showed up in her absence to arrest her Jewish husband. So if you were married to a Jewish man married to an Aryan woman, you were protected from the rounding up of the Jews if the woman stayed married to you. So late 44, I think is about the time, a bunch of these Jewish men that were in the greater Berlin area were pulled in, were basically arrested. And the wives made us think about it. They got out there with, protest signs and stood out in front of the, I forget exactly whether it was the police station. It was on one of the major streets in Germany out there, and there were probably 50 or 60 of these women or more. And they just daily showed up in the morning and protested every single day. And out there, and of course none of this made it to any of the news, because of course the Germans weren't going to, the Nazis I should say, weren't going to go, oh, today 50 Aryan women or 100 Aryan women or whatever the number was. It wasn't huge, but it was a significant number, are protesting, so it wouldn't make the news. It, because they wouldn't want our protesting to protect their Jewish husbands didn't make the news. And they realize this is like in 44, the Holocaust has been going, full bore for quite some time. Isn't going to make the news. No one's going to want to record this in too much detail, in the sense of, documentation. And we know a lot of the stuff was destroyed. I'm sure the SS was paying attention within this stuff. So a lot of this was lost. That some of this, that even the protests went on until some of the people were researching some of the stuff and found out just some tidbits about this, and then went and interviewed some people. Oh yeah, and so what through the NSDAP, some through the SS, but through other sorts of things, there was a constant listening program going on in every major area within Germany. And listening to what's being said in the ration lines, just listening to what people are talking about and reporting this stuff. And this was all going on. So this gets reported. And so everybody like in Berlin is talking about this quietly, whispering to each other in the ration lines, in whatever going on. And so basically all these husbands are released. Oh, we just, about a week or two later or whatever. And you could, as you know, I can't remember I can't keep all these details straight. But so that all these husbands are released, and all this was just, we were just checking, blah 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 blah. You made up some excuse, and they all get released. So if you're the right type of person, you're not a known communist. You're not a known anarchist type person. You're not a Jewish person. You're not a gypsy. You're not some foreigner. If you're the sort of, you're not a mentally deficient person, or whatever the various Nazi bad people were. If you're the right type of people, you can protest, you can do all kinds of things to resist the Nazi regime, and mostly nothing happens to you, in the sense of you're not arrested, put in jail. You may be brought in for questioning, and sort of intimidated, but you're not sent off to camps. You're not, doing other kinds of things like this. And this is one thing that, and I know I have a lot of German viewers, so I'm being very cautious about what I'm saying. This deals mostly with your ancestors, because you're not alive. So many of the Germans were so ashamed after the end of the war, they made up some of these myths, just like the stab in the back myth that developed after World War I. They made up a myth that that got sort of put out in post-war German society, I would say, and this is some of the research, and somebody can push back against me if you want. But they made the myth up that you had to follow orders, or you would be shot, or you'd be arrested and put into concentration camps yourselves, so you couldn't not follow orders. This is so not true. The German people were just largely, in the great majority, silent against the oppression. And a lot of people after the war, didn't want to face up to that. So they sort of wanted to sweep under the rug the idea that, like some of the women who stood out and protested that their husbands arrested, they wanted to sweep that under the rug, because if they could have protested, what about all the women who divorced their German husbands or their Jewish husbands? What about the neighbor of the Jew? If he had protested, would they not have taken the Jew away? All this kind of stuff that people realized that after the war, that had they resisted, and I don't mean throwing bombs or doing anything like that, had they just not followed orders and had they protested, a lot of things would have been different. And they were very hard to live with that. And so that is why a lot of this myth grew up of how brutal the Nazi regime was, or would have been, towards the German population. The German regime was very not brutal on the overall whole towards the German population. Towards occupying Poland, absolutely. Or France, or the Netherlands, or wherever, non-Germany. Oh yeah, the Nazis were very brutal. But not, or if you were the wrong type of German, they were very brutal to you. But if you were the right type of German, they weren't. So I hadn't heard about this hair products thing. But this is the kind of thing that the listening campaigns that they did to see what was going on about home morale, and the idea that people could push back, and they would do. So yes, we can afford 500 supplies then. Yeah, I'm nowhere near shall we say, a scholar that writes books or does a lot of or any real regional source material, because God, obviously I can't read German at all, so I'm not reading German newspapers or reading period letters from people or anything like that to know what was going on in the Nazi regime. I'm just reading secondary sources at best, you know, like the books that I'm referring to and things like that. So there's a lot about the Nazi regime I don't know. Our disconnect. Got a lot of units spread out. Flieger division. Need to get off of the. Want to get these heavy transport. Thought I got. Send you back up here to rest, refit. I think you're big enough here. You are a very big airport. Got you to one soon. Okay, 7th Flieger Division again. Your transport, but all right. We'll send you over here, so we're not too. And the one that's currently reinforcing. Oh, we could move you down there. Waiting for fuel, but fine, you too. Make sure we can pick it up. Okay, you come here. Oh, cancel. They already have. Oh, they have these guys here. Yes. Okay, well, we're going to get these guys. They don't need to be there anymore. Yeah, you can come here, get ready for the Turkish operation. You also are, you're out of fuel. Well, let's flies here. Yeah, move you over here to Nova Odessa. By the way, I like provincial. I know you already all agree with me, so. Base. Yeah. You to come in here. Hopefully with plenty of fuel to grab up. Air landing division. We're gonna air land you some. Hey. Okay. Reading. That's the only that's really far away. You're holding there. Ah, submarine advance. Great. Engines. And they did say we could do the submarine snorkel, so we will do that. That will greatly reduce facility. Bank for international settlements. Good. Absolutely biggest, most fun for that. Okay, sure. Portugal, we want to do that. Has the air transport made it there yet? Or they lose all of their organization? Let's pick you guys up on board and fly out. I really like that Parts of Iron 4 mechanic that you can give supplies or equipment, not just supplies, to the enemy, or not to the to friends, so that you could give. Right now, I would want to be sending more transports to the Vichy French to help supply my units here, to make sure that supplies getting there. Oh, is there even more? Didn't even check. I just figured it'd be one. One and a bit. So we'll also do, well, around a little bit here. 43 stuff, yeah. Hungary, yes, good. That. We've won there, good. They either, it was all along ports on the side, you know, on the coast or something. They sent a bunch of garrison. Light bomber prototypes. So like I was saying earlier, I don't know everything about the National Socialist regime. Far from it. But it is something that fascinates me, something that I want to continue to research and, in essence, share with you all as well. Well, really, really don't want to do the heavy Panzers or heavy Tigers down in that rough terrain. Maybe we'll need to. A lot of bases here, but I think we'll be okay. This moves fairly quickly, and we've got a big battleship. So, rebases too, which fucks up their supplies, but they landed. They're getting out. These guys are getting the hell out of here. Whoop. As you can tell, the National Socialist regime fascinates. Don't like it, as I think you can tell if you've been around. I'm not a fanboy of it. It just, how it worked, why it worked, what was going on. Trying to bust some of the myths around it. You know, most people just want to, oh, they're evil, so let's dismiss them. And once, you know, it's, and they just sort of dismiss them, and that's it. And no, I don't. What are you doing? Specifically study evil in various things. I very much don't, but that's just one of the things I sort of kind of. Okay, good. We right there. Romania. Give them money for crude oil. Yes. gotta wait for over before we. Might be able to run the garrison unit, but we don't do anything else. This is why this is sort of doing fairly well versus a Polish light armor unit. I think you can hold out very long. We're sending them in eventual and yeah, we'll send. This HQ's advanced. Well, nice. Now we're not worrying about occupation so much as we are still occupying a very big chunk of territory, but it's now sort of, well, it's now our annexed, so I guess no longer occupying very much in that sense. Dual purpose guns, yeah, those, well, we already have them, but we them in. A lot of stuff to do. Oh, we still have more. So since we still have more, that's all 44. So let's things here. That assault gun, heavy assault gun, tank destroyers. We got a lot we want. So, and we are up to. But let's look at third range equipment. We'll take the SS headquarters. Good. Shivi. Yes, you can pull the energy. Oh, so we are facing some pretty heavy. How are you guys? You guys are doing. You're doing great. No attacks. So far, you're moving fast, fairly. Get here and save our airborne operation. They'll battling. You guys come and garrison that. And Turkey is mobilizing. Ooh, maybe Turkey's realizing something. Wonder about that. Turkey mobilizing. That is interesting information. Why would they in peacetime be mobilizing? towards the Allies because I stopped influencing them. Oh, they're almost, the value needs to be lower than that. Well, I don't know that I'm going to let them in, even if they could join, because I want to invade them. I just never done it before. I've sort of got my mindset on invading them. So, whatever, we're going to invade you. That makes me curious to look. That's a bit better. Turkey is at the Iraq, Saudi Arabia. How are we doing there? Good. Portugal. 20. Well, that's getting a little better. We're getting a little better there. Afghanistan. Working on that. I think that's that. So that's interesting. They went from about 50 to 16. Okay, convoy spotted out here. Deploy the 33rd Army Corps to Norway. Oh, what's this? It was formed in Norway in January 43 from Horse Commando. Okay, yeah, manpower, yeah, we apply, sure. The Fuhrer demands more tanks. Okay. Thought he would have demanded more panzers, but whatever. No. The Fuhrer demanded, in a proclamation on the 22nd January 43, from the German army ministers that its work and its workers a tremendous increase in the production of tanks and armored fighting vehicles. The order of the Fuhrer was issued after continuous and horrendous tank losses on the Eastern Front and North Africa, together with the anticipated rising impact of the American war potential in 43, narrow any option of German victory, notably, if not a significant increase of its fighting power on the battlefield, could be achieved, as well as the Fuhrer. Well, this Fuhrer order gave Speer the opportunity to increase further his direct influence on the German war production priorities. The program also carried out an important propagandistic stimulus for the German population. Several large new tank factories were projected and built in impressive short time frames, as well as other production lines were discontinued in favor of assembly lines for production of the new German tank and armored fighting vehicle developments. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, they kept a lot of models or elements of models in production throughout to the end of the war. I have one book that has, I think, fairly accurate German tank number productions, and often it'll give a time period, you know, a particular model of Panzer IV, you know, say, you know, 1800 made during this 6 months period of time that they were making this model before they went on to the next model, kind of thing like that. Now, I have no good idea of what the actual capacity of production was, because we see the idea, and even when they're still within the same tank model, minor variations in production, that the tanks that are still sort of in the, you know, yet to be sent out to units, being sent back into the factory to get the minor improvements, that slows down sending those units to the front, but also slows down production of other new tanks. You have a lot of that kind of practice going on. You generally have a German inefficiency set up. You know, I've talked about Germans over designing things and all this stuff, but Germans aren't necessarily, and definitely not during World War II, the most efficient at production. They were one of the least efficient at production. They would make they'd have a machine that machined out a widget. Doesn't matter what the widget is, but it would, take the piece of metal and cut away at it until it was the right shape. And so they needed, say, 500 of these widgets for the next month of tank production, estimated tank production, let's just say. So they make 500 of these widgets. And then once that's done, they take that machine and they reconfigure it to machine out 500 gadgets that is needed for that month of production. And then something else, and they keep doing it. Where the Americans would get that machine set up to manufacture that widget and turn it on to manufacture that widget, and it would just manufacture that widget forever. Until the point that they would never want to manufacture that widget ever again. Meaning that the tank model is no longer in production. They have a huge, or what is estimated to be more than sufficient model of spares. So if it's the widget is one of the machined wheels that's part of the tracks that rolls on the track, outside, one of the wheels, and they, instead of, maybe it was cast or a mold, set up mold for casting, that plant would just cast those molds or would just machine those wheels, whatever it is, and just keep that going until, we're no longer producing that tank, and we have 500, 5,000, whatever the number of spare wheels sitting in a yard somewhere, or in a warehouse somewhere, to be sent out as damaged and repair things. And so, we've got more than we can ever need, and we're doing new models, so stop. And then at that point, you can convert that machine to something else. That was the American way of producing things. They, as a standard practice, would not shift production on a machine tool or a stamping tool or a casting setup. They just put it into that production, and until they decided they didn't want any more of those pieces, they kept it in production. Now, as I said, I don't know how much Germany could have produced on tanks. I don't know how many hours were they running the factory a day. Was it 24/7? And how many shifts? Was that 2 shifts of 12 hours? That's awfully long time to work. You get fatigue from working that long, depending on what you're doing, but presumably you're being active and strenuous. Or you're doing 3 8-hour shifts. Now, you do have an interruption as you change shifts. So, how many shifts you're running, how many hours a day are you running the factory. And also, I know for different elements within the production system, not just of tanks, but of things, they had supply interruptions. Now, not necessarily, we don't have enough steel, though at times that could be. But it's, we're putting engines together, but we don't have enough pistons. Because the piston machine that's making pistons, there isn't enough of them. Maybe a factory was bombed, so one of the factories or whatever, they weren't making any more pistons, or after the factory was bombed, they had, say, 20 machines making pistons. They were able to salvage 10 of them after the bombing and get them back working, so that they're down production. And so factories at times would be, or elements of factories at times would be idle because a component has run out. Okay, now you could say before the start of 1942, we know for a fact Germany was not trying to fully maximize its production capacity. So, and they actually stopped production on tank models and other things, not like on Panzer I's, but I'm talking on Panzer III's or Panzer IV's or Sturmgeschütz, because the war was over. They had defeated, late 1940, they had defeated France, and sure, they're still, messing around with Britain in the Mediterranean, and sure, they're bombing Britain, and there's submarines out here doing the thing. But the war was mostly over, so they even stopped production for a while on some equipment and slowed down production on some of the equipment. Now, some elements of that, it is true that the reason they stopped some of the production is also true, is that they realized, oh, the 37 millimeter gun isn't effective. We need a more effective gun. Okay, so let's figure out what kind of gun we want to use and how we're going to improve the Panzer III. So we don't need to be producing these out-of-date ones. As soon as we figure out what we're going to do, we'll get that in production, because they thought they had time when they didn't. And so I know that there was, during that time, and then before the invasion of the Soviet Union, that was still going on, because they didn't want to tell a lot of the people that were, you know, potentially these guys. That Spear in the center, I don't know. I don't know who that is. Looks familiar, but don't know. But shall we say these are like maybe a lot of factory workers or engineers or designers. They didn't want to tell them that, well, we're getting ready for a massive war with the Soviet Union. Got to keep this production up, because that could leak to the, you know, spies could leak that, or just loose talk and get to the Soviet Union that you're gearing up for the invasion of the Soviet Union. So they did not want to broadcast that out. So they kept all that very, very secret. So we know production wasn't going on as well as it could, and there's enough shifts that it could. And then you have the element of bombing, you know, interruption of production, and go, well, that was their maybe sometime in 43, maximizing production at any one time, but their production was damaged because of the bombing. Well, yes, and if you're a historian trying to dig out historical facts, that is absolutely true. But if you are a mod maker, game designer type person, you would want to know, well, just what could they have produced without that bombing, you know, increasing whether numbers of, you know, workers to more shifts, or increasing the amount of production out of a particular factory, or, you know, using a different production technique within the factory, or making new factories. You want to know these kind of things to see how Germany grew, or to see how Britain grew, or how Russia could have grown, or whatever, to then be able to model it, to know that, oh, well, German tank production in 43 with no bombings should be X, but it was only half that because of bombings. Oh, okay. So then we know that we should have X number of ICs and tank factories and whatever to produce that. Then it's up to the British or player, whether it's human or AI, to bomb Germany enough to beat it down into the levels. That's how you're supposed to think with this kind of stuff. And so this is the kind of thing that I'm sort of always trying to dig up more information on. So let's see. We can demand more tanks, which will lose 1 in descent, gain 1 in unity. Start a program which reduces manpower, reduces ICs for some reason. But we get armor. Okay, and we get reduces metal production, which I agree. Armor build speed. Well, 40. Yes. Well, you notice something here? Well, we have one light armored unit production. Oh, we have the. Ooh, we need to get that up top. Storm division. Got that. Okay. And we have some Sturmgeschütz there. In production there. We don't have enough units to make this worthwhile, so no. War will be won soon. Well, one against the Soviet Union already done, so no need. Okay, well, at that point, we're going to end the episode. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos. I really do appreciate that. Please post questions, comments, suggestions, corrections, because, hey, I get things wrong because I'm talking off the top of my head. So if you know you're right on something or think you're right, look it up and post it. You know, I'm happy to have Wikipedia links or other responsible historical websites. I sort of put that qualifier in there because there are a lot of weird websites that I wouldn't want linked here. But you know, the good historical ones I'm perfectly happy with. So thanks so much. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.